Yo, what's up, guys? We are back in Control Gaming Podcast. Special episode today. Got myself, Michael, Alun, ready to give you guys some good content about the most spoken about game, I think, in the longest time.
In a very long time.
I think could it be the biggest or most hyped game that we've seen in recent memory? I think so. I think so. So, what we want to do today is just to have a short breakdown of how did we get to this point, what's happening right now, and then what is the way forward with Cyberpunk 2077. So I just want to start off, Alan, can you just give us a breakdown of what is Cyberpunk? How did this all start?
You know, when you look at gaming in general, you've got juggernauts, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with like any medium.
Mm-hmm.
You look at your comic books, you've got your Marvel, your DC, you look at your movies, you say your Tarantino, Scorsese, and so on. So, in gaming, one company that has just been like absolutely smashing it for a very long time has been CD Projekt Red.
Mm-hmm.
They took a franchise, a novel franchise, that was literally unknown to the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the quality of the games that they made, now, I don't know how many localizations it has been done. People are looking at it the same way we talk about Lord of the Rings. There's been a Netflix adaptation. They're trying to do another movie reboot. Just because of how popular that game was by that developer.
So CD Projekt Red are the original creators of the Witcher gaming franchise. Not the story, but they translated it into the games.
Basically, they did a somewhat reboot / sequel in a way that they knew that most people in the world haven't read these novels. So we can introduce these characters in a way that is still faithful to those that have been reading it all of these years.
Yeah. And I mean, they smashed it out the park with The Witcher 3. I look at it from yours and my personal experience. We started with The Witcher 1, which was, a very demanding game for me back then, PC gaming. We weren't really, up there with the specs and everything. But it was really interesting. It was very different, and it reminded me of The Revenant, an older PC game. The way you have a character, you can put on your armor and everything, and it was really good. It had a lot of bugs, but it did a lot of interesting things. It wasn't perfect, with the quest. They really introduced the whole, gray areas when it comes to some of these stories. Then The Witcher 2, which came out, again, not too many people knew about it when it first came out, but it was a really good game. I loved the way they really tried to make a more intimate story, and you really got to know some of this world's characters, and the effects, the way they did the textures on the clothes and stuff. It was very demanding.
The changes they made from one, because one was almost more of like a point and click kind of hack and slash game, and now they made it really a proper modern action game. They really opened up. It wasn't an open world, but now the levels were less just walk in this direction sort of thing. There was a bit of movement and maneuvering around in them. So it's like they took some of the criticisms and genuinely worked on them and improved them.
And the one thing they've always had is that trust, because they were always trying to make sure they put the consumer first. They were like, look, with our games, we're not going to focus on DRM and make it hard. Like, they basically said, yo, buy our game if you like it. Like, they opened it up. If you want to pirate our game, hey, it hurts, but we can't stop you. It's going to happen anyway. And they made that amazing game. Amazing Witcher 2, I really liked. So when The Witcher 3 came, I think that's when they really hit mainstream. Like, everyone now knew, oh, what's The Witcher, The Witcher, The Witcher. And like you said, it really blew up. And around that time, 2012, in my memory, is the first time I ever heard about Cyberpunk 2077. Then we had the famous trailer, which was 2013, the start of it. And since then, we've been on a 7-year build-up.
Basically 8.
Yeah,
1 month shy of 8.
Yeah, build-up for this game, Cyberpunk 2077. If you remember, we spoke about this game the start of this crazy year, when we first heard of delaying the game. So what are your thoughts right now on the state of the game? When it came out, what's your experience with it?
It baffles me that a product can be that broken, regardless of who develops it. The fact that it's from them just makes matters worse. And we've been talking off screen as well about, things like bugs, little glitches, issues, and things like that. Almost any developer is privy to that, especially if you're developing an open world. Even The Witcher 3 took like a good 2 to 3 months before it was really the quality that we talk about now in retrospect.
Yeah.
But this is just, it's not glitches. This is broken in almost every sense of the word. I mean, what's baffling is really the way that they've been handling it all up to this launch. Because, like you said, we've been talking about it from the beginning of the year, having our concerns, right? There were a number of games at the beginning of the year that were delayed. The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7, Remake. There were quite a few, and they were delayed in very...
Dying Light, remember we saw Dying Light 2 and then
delayed
they just
indefinitely.
said,
We still don't know the date, basically. So, looking at when these things were supposed to be released and the time that they delayed it by, kind of gave us a way in which we were looking at each of these things, like what could the problem be? Final Fantasy 7 Remake was delayed by 1 month.
Yeah.
This basically tells you as a consumer, this game is done. It is literally just those final bits of polish that they are trying to make sure is done right. I believe Last of Us 2 is supposed to come out in February.
Yes,
I think it was delayed to basically in the middle of the year, roughly. I can't remember which month, if it was June or July or what. But basically a couple of months. And it's like, okay, well, that's more than just polish. Then that just means there must be some system issues and so on that they're really trying to iron out. And we're not opposed to delays. At the end of the day, we want you to deliver us a finished product. No, I don't think anybody would want to sit down and watch a movie where you can feel that this movie is not complete. You want the finished product there, right? The delay that happened with them was already a couple of months. So we're like, okay, well, maybe it's the polishing issue. They delayed it again. And we're like, okay, no, maybe they're trying to sync this up with the release date of the new consoles. Because by that point, we didn't know what the dates were. I think PlayStation literally left it almost to like less than 2 months before it came out. This is the date that the thing is going to come out. So we're all speculating, right, they're trying to do this thing where it's going to be on current gen systems, next gen systems, bridging the gap with the PC and just giving us a product that everybody can enjoy. They delayed it again. At this point, we're just like, you know what? There is something seriously wrong with this game. We have no idea what it is. There's something seriously wrong. And my God, if we only knew how bad it really was.
Even before we get into exactly what went wrong when we got it, I just want to touch on the point you just brought up when we're talking about the delays. Some people, like, I would even say we were quite worried about the delays. A lot of people said, listen, calm down. Delays are fine. When it's ready, we'll get it when it's ready. But then there was also the media aspect, because I don't think you can see the screen properly, but like every person that ever got their hands on it, I remember there was a form of envy, like if these guys got to play an hour, these guys got to play, and everything we heard about the game was, wow, this is unprecedented. Like, this is mind-blowing what they're trying to do. Like, every time there was a concern, it was diminished, because one, there's the hype, obviously, and even us as the consumers, as gamers, we also are very excited. But we're hearing these big media companies and these guys that we trust saying, I've never seen anything like this. Like, people said, oh no, but it looks like the map is smaller. No, guys. The verticality. Oh, or what about the controls? No, trust me. That was an earlier build. We've seen something. So I think a mixture of excitement and reassurance that we kept receiving from the media, and like you just pointed out, their background of how they have come to work as the company that cares about consumers. I mean, they criticize other publishers to say, yo, when you buy a game from us, you buy the game. We're not going to try to sell you anything extra.
The size of the DLC for The Witcher 3.
Exactly.
When you compare it to EA.
So we have the trust. We have the line of the games they've done, the things they've done in the past. And then we have the media on top of that telling us, yo, I played this game. This thing is amazing. It's amazing.
But not just the media, them themselves.
Yeah, obviously.
They had a whole, almost, I think it was 45 minutes gameplay trailer.
Yep.
Was it earlier last year.
This is not the final concept product.
Not the final thing.
Please note that when you see this is happening right now. It's not final, but it is happening right now.
And that continued into this year.
Then they had the Nightwire episodes.
God.
Like these guys, this is what I don't understand, okay? They kept building hype. It's one thing, I'll give the example of Dying Light 2. When that Dying Light 2 gameplay came out, I think it was unanimous. Everyone was like, wow, this looks really dope. You know, they were showing the way your different traces can affect whether the water comes or not.
Yeah.
Gameplay. Like that game, to me, when I saw it, I'm like, this is not too far away from being released. It didn't look like, you know, this is early concept. People were like, okay, cool, let's get more of this. There was excitement. They just went, no, indefinitely delayed. We don't know why.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we learned to curb our enthusiasm. We're like, okay, fine. This game, they knew something was wrong with this game. And they kept fanning the flames.
Yeah.
They kept giving us episodes. They showed us this is how we get the sound from the car. Here's Keanu Reeves again. Look at Keanu. Don't you love Keanu? Oh, look at that. Now we're doing another episode. This is the guns. These are the cars. They were building this game up. And I've never seen, for example, a huge game like Red Dead Redemption 2, an open world game, a Rockstar game, have that much exposure from the developer itself. They will give us trailers. We will hear tidbits and stuff. But these guys kept the hype machine going, knowing that this game clearly had these problems. So it's either it was done entirely on purpose, or they were so caught up in their own hype that they believed that what they were doing would be passable. People love us too much.
I think it's a mix of both, to be honest. Because they're kind of in this space now where both the industry and the consumers have praised them to the heavens and back, right? Both in terms of the quality of their games, their ethics, the way it seemed that they handled their employees and so on, their respect for their source material with The Witcher. Now they're looking at Cyberpunk and everything. Like everything was almost just like you had next to nothing negative to say.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're in that space for so long, it's not to say you're necessarily surrounded by yes men, but it is harder to call out criticisms because everybody like is expecting that good thing from you. Like it's in good hands. We know they know what they're doing. Let them go about their business. So there's that. Then there's also the pressure to deliver this game. It's taken 8 years. You've made The Witcher 3, which arguably is the best action RPG, at least of this generation. Like it literally set trends that we're still hoping to see from games even moving forward in the next gen and so on. Like they're just on this pedestal where I feel like at some point something was bound to go wrong. But like you're saying, they knew this the whole time. When they announced the release date last year, they announced it again before, basically not even before the next gen consoles were announced for what date. We didn't even know what they would look like. Like this was meant to be well before the next gen consoles are coming out. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, they were developing a current gen game. And it's kind of like when the next gen consoles come out, we will deal with that. So when they delayed it the first time, okay, there could be the issues. When they delayed it the second time, we're all like, okay, well maybe it's because they're looking for bridging the gap with the next gen systems and so on. What we've seen is not only when the game has come out, it is completely unplayable on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They literally dip down into 16 frames a second. Now, those of you guys that have been watching us for a long time, you know we are the PC snobs, right? we already scoff at 30 frames a second. But for you to drop down to 16 is a completely unplayable experience. Movies run at 24 frames a second. Literally, people are complaining about nausea because of how the experience is like just messing with their whole system. This is not something you're meant to be looking at, right? They basically have released a game that has not even got next-gen features. For all intents and purposes, this is a current-gen game. Now, some people might look at it as, okay, well, maybe they didn't foresee like how bad the problems would be and so on. That's nonsense because all of the review samples they gave to reviewers, IGN, whoever it is, they gave them PC versions. Nobody got a current gen copy of the game for them to review. They knew that this was the case.
They stole money.
And mind you, the last delay that they made was 1 month, meaning that's not really a long amount of time for you to fix problems that are that bad. And in their own statement, they basically said, because we want to get it right for current gen systems.
So they spent a month extra.
But basically...
but you started on current gen.
That's all that you've done.
Yeah.
So it's like you're giving us this whole PR message to kind of like seem, oh, hey, yeah, we're trying to do the best for you. But at the same time, we're seeing this rather twisted type of way of dealing with your reviewers and your consumers. Think about how many people bought the game on current gen systems because of, thanks to the whole events of 2020, so many people didn't get next gen consoles. You may have wanted a PS5 and an Xbox Series X and Series S, but you simply could not get it. So whether you like it or not, you are playing on the current gen system. How many people bought those copies? How many people literally got the physical thing there in their hands, popped the thing in? And mind you also, as you pointed out the other day, the CD, until a certain patch came through, it literally couldn't access the game. It was a glorified serial number, basically. There are just so many problems before we even get into what happens in the game. I mean, I'm sure we could sit here and talk for like 2 hours talking about the AI and the glitches and the
That's what I want to say, because I feel a lot of people might think that, look, hey, Skyrim had glitches, man. Like, yo, you guys have this warped view of video games. All these games, Assassin's Creed, when they first launched, had glitches. But it's not just the glitches that are a problem. One, I note, it's the frequency of them, which can be addressed, okay, in the long term. But the performance of the game, which can also be addressed, but this was really bad. But for me, the biggest thing are, like you're saying, the AI and the physics of the game. If I ignore all the glitches and I look at what the game is actually capable of doing, we recently, some videos you can look up online where they compare this game to GTA 5. Okay, GTA 5, that was a PS3 game that went on to PS4 and so on in 2014, 13, somewhere there. They made a version.
Stay tuned for the PS5 version.
Yeah. And if you look at what those games are doing and what Cyberpunk doesn't even have, forget the glitches, doesn't even have. Yes, Cyberpunk has different RPG features, but basic things. Your NPCs are so stagnant in this game. This whole game is about immersion. You know, I don't expect them to have a whole system like what Red Dead had with you talking to your NPCs and so on. But, like I said, these guys are the trendsetters. These guys, I said this in a very passionate voice note, so it's kind of messed up that I'm giving us again. But when The Witcher 3 was made, they set the tone for RPGs from that time. You look at Assassin's Creed and all these other open world RPG games, you can see they clearly take elements from The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 set the bar. When these guys made this game, and you look at the basic things they are failing to do, it seems like they were so inward. They didn't even look around and say, okay, what is actually happening in the media? What's happening in gaming? How can we have an open world game with cars and guns and not have tires that can puncture? What are other people doing? You look at Dark Souls when it came out. It set the precedent for when people wanted to make those types of games. Create your own idea, but look at what was the standard, adapt, pick from it. With this game, it's like they were in their own world. This is not their space. They don't make first-person shooter games. They're the third-person fantasy game. So they should have been more mindful to say, okay, what's happening in that medium? You know, you've got your Destinies, you've got your Divisions that are RPG shooters. What are they? Borderlands. What do those games do? If we're going to make a game in the same, formula in terms of first-person shooter RPG, what can we pick up from there? How can we improve this? How can we make the shooting feel good? How can we make we want to make an immersive world.
Yeah.
And if you're in first person, it can be way more critical of immersion because you're seeing everything compared to third person.
Yeah.
So how can we make sure that this feels and looks right? You look at simple things in the game, like destruction in the game. It's so poorly handled. The way things explode and so on. You look at a GTA game, Daniel even said it after I mentioned it, you're shooting at water in GTA 5, you see the water popping up. Cyberpunk, there's nothing. They don't have water sprites. You throw a grenade in Cyberpunk's water, it's like a PS2 game. You hear the grenade, but nothing happens. So this to me seems like either this game was the higher ups, for whatever reason, I personally believe there must be some other games they're working on, because we heard the conference call that they shared. I don't know if you've heard it as well.
Oh yeah.
There could be the fact that these guys are probably working on a mobile game, on The Witcher 4. So it's like, okay, yeah, there's lots of hype. This game will kind of sell itself. Let's just get over the line. These are simple things that let me know that this game either was announced too early, they announced the release date, or, it's sad to say, but so many shortcuts were taken in the things that they should not have been taking shortcuts in. I can't play a game where your reactions to I'm a cybernetic enhanced human, right? Like, I'm cybernetically enhanced human. I'm firing at someone. It shouldn't just feel like it is like I'm playing Doom 92. Like, everything I thought, like, yo, there'll be reactions to some of these things. These small things all add up to your experience.
Yeah.
So even remove the glitches. I'm not saying this isn't going to be a great game story-wise and there's a great game in here. But the basic things are what you have to nail if you are a trendsetter. Look at your competition, look at what's happening in the state of gaming, and at least match that or go higher. Yeah. Some places maybe you don't have enough memory for, I understand. You can cut back a bit, but at least the PC version, which is now the only version you can play on, the ray tracing, let me at least see some of those things prevalent on that version. That will give me more hope, for the next gen versions. So for me, Cyberpunk, bro, these guys stole money. PlayStation have taken it down from their store because PlayStation refund policy is quite harsh. But I respect PlayStation for just saying, you know what, look, let's get these guys out of here. But then the funny thing is, it's only happened also because they also threw Sony under the bus. They said their Game Pass certification on Xbox and PlayStation. So it's kind of saying, hey, you can't really blame us. If the game wasn't good enough, it shouldn't have been put on the stores. These guys, it's going to be very difficult for them to recover from this. This is the chance for another developer, GTA 6 coming, that just takes back what it owns, its crown.
And now we're waiting for Elder Scrolls and so on coming out. It's, I think that's a good point. It would be one thing if it was just the quality of the game that had these serious problems. And again, there were issues with The Witcher 3, not as bad, but it's basically a lot of these things can be recovered from, right? The issue is how they handled it with the public, right? The lead up to it, the clarity with what's going on and so on. And I was telling Michael about 2 or 3 weeks ago, for me, 2021, I'm really going to be investing a lot of time in indie games because there are multiple things that I like about them, what they can do with their budgets. Like, if you want to look at games that really shine in terms of passion and delivery of giving you a product that they envisioned, you're not answering to higher ups and so on, which is understandable. When you've got investors, you have to also please investors. That's fine. But if you're going to look at products where it's like, this is what I wanted to do and I achieved it, you're looking at indie games, right? And something that we see a lot of with indie games is things like open access. Literally showcasing the game to people where you might be getting funding or you just want to make sure that you're delivering a product that is perfect. We look at games like Baldur's Gate 3, Hades, where literally you can have even a whole year of basically early access for people to play, so that when you release your final product, it is on point. So when I look at these games and then I compare it to Cyberpunk, where, like you say, we've had all of these Night City and things, literally even, I think it was 2 or 3 months before the game was supposed to come out, here we've got another trailer say, this is not final. It might not look like this. Like, all of these should have been red flags. If this was any other developer, I think we all would have been much more hesitant right from the beginning. But because we had this trust in them, it's like, well, I feel like they know what they need to do to give us a proper product. If anything, what they should have done is similar to Dying Light. We are delaying this. We don't know when it's going to come out, but we genuinely, look, we have problems with this game. We are having difficulty making it run on multiple systems. We're dealing with the RAM and the hardware on here and trying to make it work there. Look, we just want to make sure we give you a proper product. We are sorry if the delay is going to be a year or whatever, but we want to make sure that the wait for you is worth it. It would have been your typical, what we expect CD Projekt Red move, and yes, it would have upset a lot of people, but
it wouldn't have been as bad as this. Stocks dropping,
25% in a few days.
Yeah, it's even further now. And like,
I know what it is now.
You know, you mentioning the early access thing brings me to a very important point as well with the Cyberpunk. When you listen to the conference call, someone asked a very important question, which had to do with testing. Now, the problem was a lot of this, everything that was happening with this game was happening internally. So they were asking, why didn't you use an external testing firm, people that can test your game properly? And they said, no, because of COVID and so on, people couldn't go to those places. And I mean, for me, I don't really buy that because of the amount of money spent on this game. I believe with the amount of money they've used on marketing and so on, if they really wanted to have proper testing done, they easily could have, you know, outsourced, you know, and done it in-house for all they like, you know, exclude them from everyone in the team. You guys are just testing this game for whatever amount of time. I think the lack of polish really shows that for me. Like, they could be a great game in here again, like we're saying, but I got a refund. I had to get my money back. There is no way I'm going to support this and then in the next sentence we must criticize EA. Put loot boxes and give me a good game. I'm sorry. If this is the alternative to loot boxes, a game that runs this badly, and I'm playing on a Series X, which is the best console to play it on right now, not because of the Series X, but however they've made the game, it's decently running on there. The best to play on, obviously, is PC. But even when I was playing it there, it was just I couldn't deal with it. I can't wait this long for such a great experience, and I'm just getting this substandard.
You literally were avoiding playing games because you're like, no, December Cyberpunk mode.
Yeah.
This is what I'm gonna be playing.
I stayed up 2 a.m. watching the clock just to click play. The song hit. I was like, woo! Let's go. And then what? And then what, dude? You shoot someone, that's like the story. Let's go, Jackie. You shoot this guy, and he's dead.
Didn't torrent it, nothing.
No, I didn't pirate. I paid
dollars down.
And then your NPC, the boss you killed, like while you're talking to someone, starts standing up. Then he walks and then he falls back down.
With the whole leaning. Yeah. So I need you to go. And
you remember what you guys did to Mass Effect Andromeda, okay? And then this. Let's not be biased. We all care about this developer. We all care about these games. But this is ridiculous. And I'm happy Sony pulled that thing. If you want to hurt these people, you take that money. Because they spent so much time not wanting to be the thing they've now become. They forgot how they got here in the first place.
You live long enough, you end up becoming the villain.
They forgot about how it was about graft, passion, and work. And they just became the
mind
kids.
you, like, okay, let's be fair. This has been a tough year for literally everybody, even outside of the gaming industry, right? So even in terms of like a delay so that we can do the polish, like, it's not exactly working in the way that you're used to. Still come into the office and so on. Like, you have to deal with a number of circumstances that literally you don't even plan for. Like, nobody saw this thing coming to the extent that it did and how much it would hamper every business out there, right? But again, for me, it's about that public relation. Being open and honest and explaining these things thoroughly. Again, multiple games have been delayed, and yet they were much more open about it. Again, I'm fine with a delay so long as you give us a polished product. But also, having said that, one thing that the gaming industry is almost unique for, and is quite frankly a terrible thing to happen, is crunch.
Yeah, and that's what these guys did.
These guys delayed 3 times, put their employees through a ridiculous amount of crunch. I can't remember how many hours. I was reading a few weeks ago about how one employee basically just said it's something like 100-hour work week or something. Like, you are putting your health at risk. You develop complications with your organs. And yet through all of that, you still delivered this. What was the point? Yeah. What was all of that for?
I feel bad for the people that worked on this game.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, whether you're an indie developer or you have investors and so on, pretty much 99% of the people in this industry love what they do. They want to put out different types of artworks, different types of music, different types of gameplay systems, level designs, and you want to give products that you feel proud of and that you know that people are happy with. But when you have to go through these things, and it's like, at the end of the day, we are now judging CD Projekt Red as a company, but those that are getting affected are the employees.
Yeah.
Because now what does this mean for you, not only in terms of working on this game, but then now any game moving forward.
Yeah,
you know,
and
what
it's
type of
very
pressure
unfair.
are you now going to be having to deal with? Simply because of the way that the whole launch was handled.
It's, if I can just clarify, it's upper management. I feel bad for any other developers that worked really hard. This is not a case of people being lazy.
And to be clear, a lot of the reviewers that did play with the PC version of the game have said once they are able to deal with all of these things, there is a genuine gem behind all of this clutter. When this thing is fixed, who knows how long that's going to take? They've already talked about a patch in January and February. For all we know, this could be a game that's going to take at least 6 months to work on. I mean, we just think of things like No Man's Sky and so on.
Yeah, this is No Man's Sky. This is 2 years, bruh. 2 years, because the things that are missing in this game that should be there. And I'm just going to say...
literally walking on the street, you punch someone, you turn around, everybody's disappeared. I've never seen things like this before.
I'm just saying, for everyone that worked on this game, I feel sorry for them because this is upper management. Upper management set the release date knowing that this game wasn't ready. I mean,
even
like
without COVID, it hit a lot of people from February. 2 months before the game was supposed to come out. That's what I'm saying. We can't really use that too much as an excuse.
So upper management got cocky. They took investors' money, and they should have taken the money they spent on those stupid Night City episodes and used it on development. Okay, I don't want to see any more influencers. Huh? I don't, dude. That chick, what's her name? PlayStation Access Joe, that hosts those episodes. I don't want to see her. I don't want to see what's her name, Alana. I don't care. Because all these people told me to spend my money. All these people kept me. They got a star-studded team, huh? Star-studded
15 hours.
You know, who was that guy that said he played 174 hours and hadn't even finished the game? He played 174 hours of that. These liars, man.
Before the day one patch.
Before day one patch, what was he doing? What was he doing?
And mind you, people who have actually reviewed and finished the game did it in what, 60, 70 hours or something?
GTA 6.
No, 40 hours. What am I saying? 40 something hours.
GTA 6. Good for these guys. I hope it doesn't stop. You guys, we should take our money from them, and you guys who pirate games, do what you're doing. These guys have to work. They have to work because companies have died for less. Died. BioWare, you will not even get out of bed for a Mass Effect announcement. Yeah? These guys, same story. They're even worse. Because they knew what they had. They finessed us. They lied. They lied.
And you know what the sad thing is, huh? Like, this is not exclusive to video games. This is pretty much any media, including even artwork itself. There are so many things that have been made that are genuinely good games, good experiences. But because of exposure or lack of marketing money or because of a few bad reviews early on from people who actually don't play those types of games and so on, they literally fall off the radar. I mean, you think of games like Enslaved, where literally a whole studio gets shut down because even though it was highly rated, it just didn't get that exposure that it needed to get that money back. And then now we look at the opposite problem, where literally people don't even play video games and like, some Keanu Reeves in the game. Like, it's a thing.
They made
and
a
then you produce
hype,
this.
bro. I watched so many lore videos. I mean, Cyberpunk has a whole lore behind its story and everything. And I understand. I am also to blame. Don't get caught up in hype.
Yeah.
But these guys
this
cheated.
year has shown that very much.
They overhyped us. Okay, there's a difference. Because it wasn't just them that were hyping us. The people we trusted to give us honest opinions about the game. IGN now are saving face, and they gave this game a 4
for the PS4 review.
Yeah, but then how could it be a 9 with this many glitches and bugs? Come on, man.
Mind you, though, also I feel like a lot of these reviewers are being extra harsh because of what's happened with some previous games. I'm waiting for our fellow co-hosts to come back because we got a few games we need to talk about. So us. But there are a few games that have been happening that have come out in the last, I'd say, year or so, where it feels like a lot of these reviewers have bent over backwards to literally justify a high-rated game. I mean, we look at, for example, Death Stranding last year, where literally now there are multiple reviewers where we read them say, we need to redefine what fun means.
Yeah.
No, that's not how you do a review.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they had let this one slide, it literally would have been the end. People would have just been like, you know what, we never take you guys seriously. So because of how bad it was, I feel like if this game just had, even as bad as the bugs are, if it had just those bugs, we'd have been seeing 9s and 9.5s for this game.
There'll be no problem.
They would have just said, you know what, like, hey, at the end of the day, you're gonna, their typical nonsense that they do for a lot of games. But because it was this broken, they had to save face and just be like, you know, don't spend your money. These guys need to take it back.
And I like this new IGN. Have you noticed after this thing, IGN on a rampage? Did you see what they gave Monster Hunter? These guys didn't spare Monster Hunter, man. Monster Hunter, I'm sorry, you guys shouldn't have come out right after this because these guys are. Hey, IGN 3.
Diablos!
Dead, dude. 3 means that you guys wasted money going to work. Anyway, so I think that can wrap up our Cyberpunk episode. We're gonna come back for another one after this. If you have anything to say, guys, hit us in the comment section, Facebook, wherever you can find us, and we'll be back for the next episode. Cheers. Anything you want to say?
Nah, I think I'm done with this.
Burn the city.
God.
Samurai.